Welcome into Around the ACHA Men's Division I. I'm Dominic Cotroneo with Allyson Cummings. It's great to have you with us. Now, Allie, last month's show, who did I say could be a dark horse in the ACHA?
UCO.
And who just defeated #1 ranked Arizona State last week?
UCO.
So I think there's no other better place to start than UCO. Let's begin with those Broncos at Central Oklahoma. Currently 12-0, they are one of the last teams standing in the undefeated talks, and the only other is Adrian College, but more on them later. We've talked about their high-flying offense in last month's show, and it was on display again when they hosted Arizona State last week. Let's take a look at that box score, shall we? It was an abnormally chippy and sloppy third period for both teams, and a fight broke out and a few misconducts were given, and a result, 3 Sun Devils and 3 Broncos heading to the dressing room early. Then don't forget Michael Rivera's hat trick and poor defense by ASU, and you've probably got an upset. Broncos earned it, and the dark horse prediction might have been a little underwhelming in last month's show.
Switching gears over to the other team in Oklahoma, the Sooners finished last weekend dropping all 3 games to both Arizona and Arizona State. Head coach Peter Arvanites had this to say about the team. "I liked the way we played against ASU on Saturday. We made minimal mistakes and stayed disciplined within our systems and worked hard all game." The game on Saturday did go into overtime, and the player to force OT was Daryl Bolden, who scored with 2 minutes remaining in the game, under 2 minutes to be exact. And even if they didn't win, it was a testament that, quite frankly, Oklahoma does not give up and is a very resilient team. Switching gears, the ACHA is full of talented goaltenders, and quite frankly, I can't pick a favorite. Luckily, I don't have to. But breaking down some of the different goalies in the league is Justin Emerson and Jayson Chesler. Guys, who are you looking at?
That's right, Allie. Plenty of talent in the ACHA. You know, last month we looked at some of the top newcomers, paid a lot of attention to goal scorers, but Justin, you got to mind the net minders. Top goalies in the ACHA, it's hard to pick just a few. You did just that, though.
I did pick out a couple of the top goalies in the league, and if you look at this, we've got some of the best in the league. You look at Aaron Alkema at Ohio, and we got him highlighted. He was the player of the month last month for the ACHA. Andrew Sherman, Andy DiCristofaro, Robert Levin, Brian Danzak. These are some of the top goalies in the league, and they're all having some fantastic years. You look at Alkema especially, and he's a guy that anchors a very, very strong back end for Ohio. We'll get more into that later. But he's been fantastic for the Ohio Bobcats.
That's right, Alkema leading a core of a number of talented goalies. And Justin, whether it's the player of the month like Alkema or any hot goalie in net, that makes a big impact for a team out on the ice.
It really does. And you look at the last 2 national champions. You look at Arizona State last year. They had Robert Levin. He won the tournament MVP award. Before that, Wyatt was Zelenchuk. He had a Player of the Year award when he was at Minot State. So the last 2 national champions, elite goalies. So it's really, really important, obviously, to have strong presence between the pipes if you want to hoist that Murdoch Cup at the end of the year.
And goalkeeping, you can see in the goals allowed average what it does for a team defensively, but offensively, having a big-time goalie between the pipes, it frees up defensemen to move forward, and it allows forwards to know, hey, their goalie's got their back behind them. That
maybe in a tight game, if it's tied 1-1, they might know that, hey, that next goal is going to win it for the team.
So there you have it. The last 2 national champs had big-time goalies. If your team's looking for big-time goalie play, you can check out that graphic. A lot of big-time goalies going around the ACHA this season. Let's send it back to the desk.
Thanks, guys. Minot State hockey is only 2 years removed from their national title. Last season, we witnessed a changing of the guard, if you will, when Arizona State hosted and defeated the defending national champs to take over their #1 spot in the rankings. Goalies Wyatt Waselenchuk and Robert Levin for the Beavers and Sun Devils, we just heard about them, they duked it out in a thriller almost a year ago. After the loss, Minot State would fall to the University of Arizona to make their trip to the desert not so sweet. Now we head back to this year, and again, the Sun Devils have already taken 2 on Minot's ice this season. In fact, those 2 losses are the only ones thus far in the year for the Beavers. We look to their challenging road ahead. A pair of tilts with Oklahoma schools in 4 days will be very challenging. Then the Beavers will have a rivalry matchup with Williston State that doesn't count in the ACHA standings. A home series with the Iowa State Cyclones, then there it is again, a trip to the desert with Arizona State and U of A. The schedule levels off for them at the end of the calendar year, but then when we turn to 2015, Minot State will host current undefeated Adrian College when the heat is turned up in North Dakota.
Robert Morris, Illinois just got done sweeping Indiana Tech and is now 9-1 on the season. Plot twist, The head coach for Indiana Tech is Frank DiCristofaro, the cousin of RMU senior goalie Andy DiCristofaro. Now that had to be intense, cousin versus cousin. I talked with Coach Adrades this past Monday, and he said that Indiana Tech reminds him of where Robert Morris was not too long ago, and they are a growing program with Division I potential. And you know, Dom, that was a very worthwhile series for him. He told me on the phone, he goes, Allyson, you've been around hockey long enough, you know you got to play at your best no matter who you're playing. That being said, they're facing Lindenwood this weekend. Lindenwood has been on a tear, defeating the Sooners 8-1, sweeping Iowa State at home. Dom, how do you see that playing out?
Well, you can use that quote for Lindenwood in this game. They've been a hard team to gauge early on in the year, considering they started out winless, and now they're starting to get the wheels turning again. But if they can bring it out there onto the ice, anything is possible, and they could be upset-minded against Robert Morris.
And Coach did mention he's very confident in his team's depth. He says there's not much of a difference between their first line and their fourth line, and you can't really ask for more from a team, quite frankly, but do not take it from me. Take it from head coach Adrades.
Well, you know, we know Lindenwood was a league rival. They have, you know, they're always tough. They always compete extremely hard, and that way they're a terrific reflection of Coach Zombo. We know that we have to be at our best defensively. We know that looking at Lindenwood's success over the last 3 games, and then they've been great over the last 3 games, that if our special teams, you know, aren't, you know, coming with their A game, then it's going to be a tough series.
Friday is an exciting day for the ACHA because it is the day the rankings come out. Now, if you didn't know that until today or simply haven't looked, we have you covered. Our very own Trey Lynch is standing by with his reaction to the new ranks.
Thank you so much, Allie. Today is Friday, and you all know what that means. The rankings are out. They were one thing last week, now they're a completely different thing this week, and I'm going to tell you why. Here are the top 3 teams. Number 3, Adrian. Number 2, Arizona State. They were number 1, now they're number 2, and I'm going to tell you why in a sec. But number 1 overall right now is, this one's for you, Dom, the dark horse, Central Oklahoma. Central Oklahoma beat Arizona State last Thursday to take the number 1 overall seed. And now Arizona State is at number 2. And another crazy thing that happened this week, after Oklahoma's 3 losses, they moved from number 3 to number 16, and Arizona stays at number 17. Also, another crazy thing to look at, after last night's loss to Arizona State, Liberty is now number 10. That's how the rankings were shaken up this week. I know I was shaken up seeing the rankings today, so I'm going to send it back to Dom in the studio.
Thanks, Troy. Let's now look towards the Atlantic, where the back-to-back champions of the Eastern States Collegiate Hockey League, the Stony Brook Seawolves, are riding a wave with a current 5-game winning streak. We look at some of the impressive notes from the wins, including that gaudy goal differential this season. You look at that huge 34-6 in the streak. Also, they only have 1 loss this year, and it was to Rhode Island 5-1. Not a bad game, but in response, junior goalie Derek Wilms logged back-to-back shutouts and remains undefeated as a netminder. Stony Brook's schedule begins to lighten up with Westchester and Lebanon Valley coming up. A semi-finalist in the tournament a year ago, the Seawolves are priming themselves for another top seed come tournament time in March.
Arizona State lost their first game of the season this past Thursday to UCO. Don't blink, the Sun Devils are beatable. This past Wednesday, I caught up with assistant captain Liam Norris and asked him how the team rebounded after their first loss.
We just had a couple of meetings. We stuck to the game plan. We realized that maybe we aren't undefeatable. You know, it was important for some guys to see that the hard work beats skill every night, and that's exactly what happened on Thursday.
The following day, the Sun Devils did come together after the loss, defeating Oklahoma in back-to-back games. In other news, Adrian has been making a splash in the league. We're going to send it back over to Jason and Justin, who are going to talk about a certain player who has impressed them.
That's right, Allyson. Plenty to be impressed by. The second of 2 remaining undefeated teams, Adrian College, one of the 2 unbeatens in the ACHA, and a lot of it's thanks to 1 forward. Right, Justin?
It's always great to have an elite player in the league. It's even better if he's a freshman. Brad Coburn. He has been everything that Adrian could have asked for and more. 17 goals, 11 assists, 28 points. That leads the ACHA, goals and points, more than anybody, not just freshmen. And he's coming from the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League where he was last year. This guy is obviously good. The numbers are right there on the screen, and you can see what this guy is doing for an Adrian team that has national championship hopes.
And those national championship hopes right now seem to rest heavily on the talented shoulders of Brad Coburn. Can he bear that load as a freshman, Justin?
We've seen it before. We saw it a couple of years ago. Cale Dolinsky, last year's player of the year, as a freshman, had 77 points when he was with Minot State. So yes, it can happen. A freshman can come in here, lead the entire league in points, and carry his team. And right now, the way Brad Coburn's starting, the Rookie of the Year is his award to lose.
And that's right, a performance like Coburn's, ask any Minot State or Arizona State hockey fan. They've seen it before from Cale Dolinsky. This Adrian program, a storied program in the ACHA on some level. Are they legit contenders?
I would say that they are. They've still got the pieces from when they were there 2 years ago. They were the #1 overall seed in the national tournament before being upset. I would say that this is a team that we need to watch out for.
So come tournament time, keep your eyes on Adrian. But for now, let's send our eyes back to the desk.
Thanks, guys. Well, you know what they say. The 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead in hockey. Liberty sure knows that right now. The Flames let a lead slip to the aforementioned Minot State Beavers before losing their 4th shootout. Yes, 4th. Earlier in the year, the Flames also blew a 3-goal lead against the Wildcats from the University of Arizona. Liberty has a bright future ahead of them, though. We talked about Luke Hannon on last month's show as a potential Rookie of the Year, and now he's been awarded an A on the front of his sweater. Matt Sherry, the head captain of the Flames, appointed Hannon and fellow freshman Ben Hughes as alternates, completing the leadership staff for Liberty. They are past their first series with rival Davenport, and the Flames have plenty of time to regroup with the leaders set for the rest of the season.
Thank you so much, Dom. Kyle Kercheval here alongside hockey analyst Troy Lynch. And Troy, we get the pleasure of watching a lot of really great hockey here in Tempe, but we have to keep in mind we have a school right down below us, U of A, who's actually in a bit of a state of flux right now. However, they're looking to make some big transitional moves with head coach Chad Berman coming in and making some changes, trying to put this team at the upper level. They've got 3 wins this year. They're ranked 17th right now in the current standings. They've kind of moved up and down a little bit since then. However, we need to keep in mind that they're in transition. Troy, the 3 of the wins they have right now are, one's a shootout victory over Liberty, and one is an overtime victory over Oklahoma. What are these kind of wins in the clutch opportunities? What do they say about a team like this that's looking to take their game to the next level?
Well, it just says about this Wildcat team that they're extremely tough. They're not going to let these high-ranked opponents push them around. And one of the aspects that makes them great is their ability to push through adversity. And another one of their aspects that makes them a good team and gives them a lot of success is how balanced they are as a team. Most of the players on their roster, they have about 4 to 5 points. So they don't really have an all-star on the team, but they do have some players on their roster who could have a breakout game and maybe put up 5 goals.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right about that. And I want to actually kind of challenge you with that being said. This is a really team-based team, for lack of a better term. They like to spread the points and the stats amongst a whole bunch of different guys. However, they have really struggled to put the puck in the back of the net, and that's been one of the bigger issues here in this first part of the season. But if you can take one guy from this roster, who is really going to be the leader moving forward, and who's just your overall standout player?
I actually think the new leader is going to be the freshman Alex Nesport. And right now, he's the team leader in points right now. He has 8 points, 6 goals, and 2 assists. The only thing that kind of worries me about that is that those 8 points all came from 2 games at the very beginning of this season. The last 3 games against number 16 Oklahoma and against number 1 Central Oklahoma, he hasn't put up any points. So that causes some concern there. But he does have the ability to break out. He's still young. He's still learning. And if he learns how to be consistent, he could be phenomenal.
Absolutely. And obviously, over the course of the years that Coach Chad Berman is there, we're going to see his recruits coming in and making some, making some big changes as far as how he wants the team to play moving on down the road. However, we need to take into consideration we're at the very start of the season right now. University of Arizona, as I said, 3-5 right now. Troy, is this an accurate representation of the team, considering that they still haven't played a game in Tucson?
Yeah, I actually do think it's an accurate representation. I mean, they still not comfortable, haven't played at home, so you're not going to be comfortable. But the teams that they have played, they're all top-ranked teams against number 2 Arizona State, number 1 Central Oklahoma, number 10 Liberty, and number 16 Oklahoma. You're winning 3 games That's still kind of impressive. So yes, it does make sense that they are 3-5 right now, but another area on their team that kind of concerns me is their goaltending. Last year they lost senior goaltender Steven Stisler, and they had to replace him with Garrett Patrick this year, who's been doing okay. He's averaging 4.14 goals a game this year, and his save percentage is 88%. So there is room for some improvement, but if head coach Chad Berman can't improve the goaltending, that could cause trouble for the Wildcats for the rest of the season.
Well, there's clearly a lot of promise with this U of A squad, and lucky for them, they have a whole heck of a lot of hockey to play the rest of this season. So we'll have to see how that transitional state looks the rest part of for the rest of the year. Obviously, we'll be updating you throughout that. For Troy Lynch, I'm Kyle Kercheval. Thank you so much. We'll send it back up to Allie at the studio.
Thanks, guys. Now, there are so many strong and evenly matched teams in the ACHA that it may be easy to overlook some of the talent. One team that has certainly caught my attention is Rhode Island, and here's why. The graphic says that AJ Chua and Matthew Arminti are the leading point scorers, which is an impressive stat, but let me break that down. Because just last weekend, the two combined for 9 points. Chua's stats are heavy in goals, and Arminti is heavy in assists. What does that tell you? That they are a deadly duo. Arminti is that playmaker that can get the puck up to Chua. This weekend they face Syracuse, who is 6-4. My advice for everyone watching, tune in and watch that duo.
Delaware has barely seen the ice at Fred Rust Arena, or any rink for that matter. The Blue Hens are only 4 games into their season with a respectable 3-1 record. The lone loss coming to Robert Morris in a close 5-3 final. They handled Westchester and Navy, last year's Cinderella in the national tournament, and they get ready for a home-and-home with Rutgers this weekend before finally seeing some consistency to end the calendar year. With tough tasks ahead against Rhode Island and Liberty, they will be awarded with their week off in 2014, their last one in that matter. What hurts the Blue Hens, though, is simply their lack of a schedule. But as long as they continue to win games that they are supposed to, they will be a contender come March. And now we get ready to send it over to Justin and Jason again to talk a little Ohio hockey.
Thanks a lot, Dom. That's right, Ohio, another prominent team in the ACHA Men's Division I, and a team with a new coach. Sean Hogan coming over from the University of Arizona to Ohio University. Justin, I know you're excited to talk about his impact on this team, but before we get to talking about Sean Hogan, let's hear from Coach Hogan. He joined the show earlier.
You know, the tradition here at Ohio University was a definite draw. It got me, closer to home. I'm from the Detroit area in Michigan. So I'm actually enjoying the fall weather and having an autumn here. And the transition with the guys has been great. We have a real quality hockey program here, and I'm just as excited to be a part of it. And I think that this year, more than any other year, I think is wide open for a national champion. So it'll be about who's playing the best at the right time and who's getting better as the year goes on.
Certainly a change of scenery for Coach Hogan. He talked about moving closer to home at Ohio University. But Justin, it's also a change in programs. Going from a U of A team that he was really rebuilding, got them back to the national tournament, to an Ohio team that expects to do more than just make an appearance. They want to make a splash in the big dance. Justin, do you see any of that U of A style of play carrying over to this very different Ohio program?
We talked about it earlier with their goalie Alcama, but this defense is very, very good. They've only allowed more than a goal in a game once this season, and that was in their only loss. They've been fantastic this year, and that starts at the back end, and it starts with the guy between the pipes. This team is a team, like you said, based off of what they wanted to do in Arizona, build a defensive-first team, and the scoring will come, which it has.
Exactly. You know, defense wins championships, one of the classic sports cliches. Sean Hogan's certainly buying into it, but we will see as the season progresses. Justin, I asked this earlier about Adrian, a team where we focused on offense, now focusing on defense. Is Ohio University also an ACHA championship contender?
Seems like I keep saying this, but I mean, we don't talk about bad teams on this show. And yes, Ohio is a legitimate national title contender, and there really are. There's a half dozen, 10 teams that have a legitimate claim to the national title this year that can win it all. Ohio's one of them. I would not be surprised at all to see them in Final Four, perhaps.
And a program with plenty of history in the ACHA, the second most national championships in ACHA Men's Division I history. They'll look to add to that, but this time with new coach Sean Hogan. Now let's send it back to the desk.
And Sean Hogan and the Bobcats, definitely a promising team.
Yeah, we definitely know much of Sean Hogan, considering he was just down south. And, you know, Ohio, definitely they have the resume and they have, you know, the experience to get back there. We'll have to, wait and see what they can do.
Right, go Bobcats. All right, but just like that, it marks the end of the show. On behalf of Dominic Cotroneo and all of our staff, we say thank you for joining us. We know you have an exciting weekend of hockey ahead of you, so enjoy. This has been Around the ACHA Men's Division I, brought to you by the Walter Cronkite Sports Network. Have a good night.